in the early years. I was just any other digital guy, often seen as someone who could get the campaigns done, purely an execution. But somewhere along the way, I realized if I wanted to be seen as a strategic voice, then I had to stop thinking like a service function and start thinking like an owner. What kind of relationship do we want to have with our customer? Are we here as a mentor, a friend, or maybe a challenger? I mean, this question just guides all our choices, from the words we use to the feelings we are trying to create. And I explained this to my team as well. At the end of it, tone is never fixed. It grows with the brand. Just as the relationship with the customer deepens with time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders, brought to you by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Sunny Pancholi, and today's guest isn't just a marketer. He is a growth architect, a brand storyteller, and the force behind some of India's most iconic digital success stories. From transforming upGrad into a $1.2 billion unicorn, to building Scaler into a $710 million edtech disruptor, Mr. Rahul Karthikeyan has redefined what it means to scale with story, purpose, and performance. Mr. Rahul, it's a privilege to have you with us. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm truly humbled and privileged to be part of this conversation. I mean, it's always special to take a step back and reflect, not just on milestones, but on the people, lessons, and experiences that has shaped my journey. And I'm really looking forward for this session and grateful for the opportunity to share and hopefully learn a bit more along the way too.
So, Mr. Rahul, with 16 plus years of experience across global giants like Netflix, Mercedes-Benz, GoDaddy, and more, Mr. Rahul blends deep consumer insights with bold strategy and innovation. Currently, the Chief Marketing Officer at Scaler and InterviewBit, he is also the visionary behind Scaler School of Business, a Stanford-inspired model for India's future leaders. Great. All right, so Mr. Rahul, to get us started, we would love to hear your story in your own words. How did this journey begin for you? Take us through some of the key moments along the way, whatever stands out to you the most.
I think my journey has been pretty exciting and I'm very fortunate about it. I think the entire journey started into marketing. It just didn't happen by mere coincidence. I had not planned to kind of get into, or my earlier plans was not to kind of start in a boardroom. It started in a living room back in 1996, watching Sachin Tendulkar bat during the Sharjah series. What was mesmerizing for me is the number of, when the match was happening, how the brands showed up in those moments, the logos, the ads, the emotions. I mean, I didn't know it then, that something clicked back in the day itself. That observation quietly shaped my love for storytelling and the entire kind of excitement about building the brand as well. So that's when the entire journey started for me without my knowledge. But I began my career in the hustle of ad networks, Komli and Admagnet, where my performance was everything. And you learn fast or faded faster. That was how the journey was in the beginning. That was my initiation into sharp, metrics-driven side of marketing. But I always knew that I wanted to kind of blend to analytical rigor with creativity and sort of scale. Now, the real turning point came at GroupM, where I was leading the digital for the West region, handling marquee brands like Netflix, Mercedes, GoDaddy, Eureka Forbes. That's where I discovered my leadership appetite. I wasn't just running campaigns, I was building teams, nurturing talents, and helping brands take bold bets. Um, then came a leap into the world of startups. I was very excited about it when the opportunity came up from upGrad first, where I went on from being head of digital to kind of getting to head of marketing, scaling the brand during its rocket ship phase. But it was Scaler where I honestly felt like home. And my journey, when I joined, I built the entire marketing function from scratch. And today, as CMO, I handle not just marketing, but the P&L as well. We are building a business school now, and that's surreal for someone who once sat in the backbench wondering how brands got built. Looking back today, I think the journey has been very much about curiosity, um, knowing when to pivot. So for me, it's more to do with moving from cricketing commercials to consumer psychology, from performance marketing to premium education. I mean, every step has taken a. I mean, it has been driven by a hunger to create impact and not just impressions. So yeah, it's been a great storytelling for the past 16 years, and I'm looking forward for more such stories to continue.
Incredible. I truly appreciate that honest glimpse into your journey, Mr. Rahul. It's refreshing to hear how the path wasn't always linear, but clearly full of intention. So, speaking of brand languages, from the luxury precision of Mercedes-Benz to the bold storytelling of Netflix, and now the transformational mission of edtech. Mr. Rahul, I'm curious, how did navigating such different brand tones shape the way you approach finding that authentic brand voice each time, especially when the stakes and the stories are so different?
That's a great question, actually. Honestly, I think it was very tough. Working with such brands, I mean, has felt a bit like learning different ways to tell a story. Whether it was with Netflix, Eureka Forbes, upGrad, and now Scaler, each brand had its own personality. It gets very tough sometimes. Take Netflix, for example. It is all about keeping things simple, sparking curiosity, telling the story unfold without saying too much in the beginning. Whereas in contrast, when I was kind of handling Eureka Forbes, the focus was on trust, reliability. It had credentials of being a legacy brand back in the day, and so there is a lot of familiarity. And then with upgrade scaler, wherein the build you have to build the brand right from scratch. There is no story at the back, right? So it is all about ambition, energy, taking directly to a young driven audience. Quite challenging, yes. But what became clear to me was that a brand's tone isn't something you impose. I mean, it's about understanding who the audience wants to connect. You need to really step up into their shoes. Yeah. Understand what makes them tick, what worries them, what inspires them. I remember a time when I had to juggle two briefs on the same week. One was Netflix, the other one was a bit on the education side as well. So I had to wear kind of a couple of hats at the same time. So in the morning, probably brainstorm for Netflix, and the evening I'll be brainstorming for an edtech. The completely different persona, right? Um, I mean, it was eye-opening to see the tone wasn't just about clever words. It was about strategy, the way a message is spoken. I mean, it can shape how much people trust and remember a brand. Right? A lot went in. So now whenever I'm crafting a brand's voice, I'm starting with a simple question: what kind of relationship do we want to have with our customer? Are we here as a mentor, a friend, or maybe a challenger? I mean, this question just guides all our choices, from the words we use to the feelings we are trying to create. And I explain this to my team as well. At the end of it, tone is never fixed. It grows with the brand, just as the relationship with the customer deepens over time. And it is very, very important for all of us to be way more flexible to understand the journey of a brand. So yes, it's been crazy, but again, it's been very, very fun times. that I've had in the past 16 years. Yes.
That's so insightful, Mr. Rahul. It really shows how much intentionality goes into shaping brand voices across industries.
Absolutely, yes. It goes with a lot of rigor, a lot of patience, and lots of research getting there.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Rahul, you have been that bridge between creatives, data, and decision makers. For marketers out there doing the work but struggling to be seen as strategic voices, what's your advice for getting that seat at the table, especially when they don't even feel like they are in the room yet?
No, I know. Yeah, I think that's an important question, especially in today's DNA, because I've lived it. I mean, I didn't walk into rooms with a fancy designation or the loudest voice in the early years. I was just any other digital guy, right? Often seen as someone who could get the campaigns done, purely an execution. But somewhere along the way, I realized if I wanted to be seen as a strategic voice, then I have to stop thinking like a service function and start thinking like an owner. And that's where my mind shift changed everything. Now I began asking myself, it's almost, I think, in 2015, 2016, when I was kind of pivoting to GroupM, what does this campaign do beyond impressions? How does it earn more revenue, improve retention, support sales, deepen brand equities? I mean, some of those questions I started asking to my clients as well. And fascinatingly, that's where I started building that muscle of connecting marketing outcomes with business goals. And that's what gets you noticed. Now, one moment I'll never forget was at upGrad. I was leading a big GTM pitch, very initial phase of when I just came on board for a new university launch that we were building for. Instead of starting with creatives, I opened with a customer insight. What is the CAC? What is the LTV that we're going to get over here? A view of how the campaign would hit bottom line goals. The tone of the meeting flipped. I was very fortunate to have worked with one of the best, Mr. Ronnie Screwwaller. Um, I mean, it wasn't just a marketing idea, it was a business decision. The confidence to speak to the language of the boardroom, I owe a lot to the mentors I've had. Where one was Mr. Sunil Miranda, who co-founded AdMagnet. He taught me the importance of relationship, not just external ones, but internal stakeholder alignment. Mr. Vishal Chinchankar, today he is the CEO of Madison. Back in the day, he was India head for MEC, now GroupM. I mean, he helped shape my understanding of digital, not just as a channel, but as a way of thinking. He's always pushed me to stay ahead of the curve and think in frameworks, always, not in formats. Even today is someone I turn to for honest advice. And again, as I said, Mr. Ronnie Screwwaller, I mean, he's just a marvelous guy. The one who really shaped me to see the bigger picture at all times. How brands aren't just about building communication, but by solving real world problems. Watching his clarity in decision making, how he tied everything back to value creation, left a lasting mark on me. Yeah, so to marketeers, start showing up like you already have it. Understand the business beyond your functions and don't wait for permissions to lead. I urge people in my team as well and across other functions as well. Do not wait for permissions to win. It's a very, very competitive environment. Um, if you wait, there'll be somebody else who will probably take it up and go away. Yeah. So I think in my all honesty, you don't have to be the loudest. You have to be an opportunist, and that's it.
Absolutely, Mr. Rahul. Hearing how you have earned that seat at the table, not just with results, but with such real strategic clarity, it really makes me think the title of CMO carries weight, but also a lot of assumptions. You have lived the role across scale ups and giants alike. So, what's one myth about CMOs you would really like to clear up once and for all?
Yeah. I mean, see the title of CMO, it does carry a certain image, right? People often assume it's all about brand campaigns, big picture storytelling, maybe a splash of creativity here and there. Um, yes, well, that's part of it. One big myth which I love to break is CMOs are not brand custodians. We are business drivers. In fact, the way I see it, if today a CMO isn't deeply involved in business outcomes, they are missing the point. My role, whether at upGrad, Scaler, or even earlier, has always been about connecting the dots between marketing, revenue, product, and customer success. Now, what a lot of people don't see is the backend engine we built. I mean, I've always been obsessed with marketing measurability. At Scaler, I've built a very strong integrated data systems from scratch, not just dashboards, but completely full funnel attribution models, you know, event trackings, customer journeys, maps, client IDs, all designed to circumvent the limitations of wall garden platforms like Google and Facebook. Now, these platforms don't always share everything you need, and I mean, if you have to rely on them, well, you are just flying blind. But with the right systems in place, suddenly you know exactly what's working, where to double down. After this obsession with data doesn't come at the cost of creativity, it actually fuels it. And when you have clarity on what's driving growth, your campaigns get sharper, your storytelling gets bolder, your team gets more confident. And speaking of teams, I think another part that often gets overlooked in the CMO role is I've been fortunate to lead some very incredible, talented people. I see it as my responsibility to make sure that they are not just delivering, but constantly learning and evolving. Because in this space, if your team isn't learning, you're falling behind. Simple as that. So, yeah, being a CMO isn't just about launching a great brand film or running a big event. I mean, it's about building systems, driving outcomes, creating cultures where marketing is respected, not for how it looks, but for the impact it delivers. I mean, that's the real work behind this title.
I really appreciate that honesty, Mr. Rahul. It's refreshing to hear the reality from someone who has walked the path so closely.
Absolutely, yes. I think it's been a journey and I've learned a lot during this period of time. Yes.
So, Mr. Rahul, after hearing all you have accomplished from scaling brands to shaping narratives across industries, it really makes me wonder what's next for you. I mean, as someone who has already operated at such a high level, do you see yourself stepping further into strategic boardroom roles in the future?
That's something which I've been thinking about it. I mean, I've been thinking about it quite deeply. Um, what does the next decade look like? After spending 16 years across networks, agencies, high growth startups, scaled brands as well, now I feel drawn towards the kind of impact that happens beyond the day to day, in the boardroom, in mentorship, in long term value creation. I absolutely see myself stepping further into strategic board level roles where I can partner with founders, CXOs, and investors to solve high stakes business problems, not just from a brand lens, but by bringing my operator's mindset to the table. And there are very few out there, to be very honest. I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry as well. There are not many who kind of have that sort of a pedigree, who is kind of having a much larger role in a board, right? And I'm in that phase of wanting to kind of, give back to the society in terms of development, in terms of your learning, because I believe there is a real gap today. You know, board decisions are shaped heavily by numbers and spreadsheets, but the nuance of real execution of what actually can scale and sustain, sometimes it just gets lost. I've seen firsthand how marketing, when integrated deeply with product, business functions, can drive real growth and unlock new markets. And I think that's where I can add a lot of value, especially for VC and PE backed firms who are looking to not just chase valuations, but they are looking to build enduring and scalable businesses. Now, too often, valuation models don't fully capture what it takes to execute at scale. That's where experienced operators like probably me can bridge that gap between ambition and outcomes, between pitch decks and P&Ls. A lot of times, especially in the last couple of years, there have been lots of brands, lots of categories where the valuations have gone wrong. It has nothing to do with VC firms how they've evaluated. It is just the right lens of looking at those balance sheets and informations, right? So I feel strongly a sense of responsibility to mentor the next generation, marketeers, brand leaders, and early founders, and help them see beyond the vanity metrics, to help them build careers and companies rooted in substance. And honestly, I think beyond titles or roles, I'm driven by the idea of creating lasting impact through systems, people, and purpose. So whether it's contributing to boardrooms or enabling new age founders or launching something my own again, I want that next chapter to be about responsibility and real outcomes, and that's what I'm chasing now.
That's inspiring to hear, Mr. Rahul. Such a thoughtful outlook. You are not just aiming higher, you are aiming with purpose. That's really inspiring.
Thank you, a pleasure.
So, given your experience building brands that people trust and leading market at scale, corporate governance must play a subtle role, but powerful role behind the scenes. So, in your view, how important is governance in shaping not just company reputation, but internal culture and decision making as brands scale fast?
I've seen this up close while building brands like upGrad and Scaler, especially in a high growth environment where you're moving fast, solving for scale and making big bets. And in that chaos, governance becomes your compass in a way. I mean, it ensures that speed doesn't come at the cost of principle, and growth doesn't come at the cost of people. I've always been a very frugal marketeer, very frugal marketeer. I think it's also kind of built in. I've built in sort of set of principles in there, and that is in a way sort of a governance itself. So one thing I've learned is that good governance isn't about creating layers of approvals, right? I mean, it's about creating clarity, and that's about it. Let's keep it as simple as possible. We are not saying have to go through tons and tons, 4 layers of approvals. I mean, it's just going to slow down the entire company. That's not the intention. But at all layers, everybody should be clear in terms of how this company has to function. What are the principles, basic principles that as an organization we need to ensure for, right? So clarity around roles, around accountability, data access, customer protection, and communication, especially when things don't go as planned. Now, whether it's a large product rollout, a sensitive pricing decisions, or a cross-functional conflict, if governance is embedded into the operating rhythm, team feels safer, faster, and they feel more empowered. Now, this directly reflect in the brand trust as well. Now, today's consumers are not just looking for your ads; they become way smarter these days. They're looking at how you can handle feedbacks, right? How you speak during a crisis, how your internal culture shows up externally. Governance is and that keeps it consistent. Just to give you a very real life examples, if today, I mean, we are in an edtech category, which is a very emotional category. It's a bigger investment. Imagine if my students, once they have made their fees, they paid for the fees, they are not able to get in touch with us, or they have some sort of grievances and they want to talk to someone. Now imagine if my number doesn't exist anywhere. That in itself is a debacle from a corporate governance point of view. So the more transparent you are with your customers, even with your employers across all the functions, the better it is. And then that's kind of framework that we've kind of built internally as well. So at Scaler, for instance, I mean, we built not just attribution systems. It's also internal governance protocols, clear checkpoints on data usage, stakeholder mapping, audit trails, whole team accountable, not just for performance, but for integrity. And I believe that today's CMOs, CXOs, they have to embrace governance, not as a formality, but as a strategic enabler of culture, clarity, and credibility. Right. So to sum it up, I mean, good governance, yeah, it doesn't slow you down. It gives you the structure to move faster together and in the right direction. In a hindsight, when I talk to a lot of people across industries, they feel the moment governance come, companies slow down. No, it's not true. I think there are means to kind of keep it at the same pace as well. It's just a lack of clarity around it, how to run, how to set up this SOPs. That's about. So yeah, that's my summation of the whole thing. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, Mr. Rahul, that's a perspective we don't hear often enough, especially from someone who has lived both the brand and business sides so closely.
Yeah,
Great.
that's
Great.
something which I'm also kind of learning with a lot of people and mentors around. Fascinating things to learn. I also sometimes get astounded in terms of not many people know. It's very simple, but we ourselves complicate simple things out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So before we wrap up, Mr. Rahul, you recently joined Directors Institute, and given your depth of experience, that's the journey we are curious about. We would love to hear what that experience has been like for you so far.
I recently joined the Directors Institute. I would say I'm still very much at the early stage of that journey. But even in this short time, it's been a very, I think, eye-opening and grounding experiences. What really motivated me to join was the internal shift I've been feeling. As I said, I think it's about time, 16 plus years. I want to make real impact. I just want to get into an executional strategic levels. I knew it was time to kind of build the muscle for governance level thinking, not just for brand or business thinking, but for boardroom thinking. Um, what I appreciate most is the structure that Institute brings. I mean, it's helping me set a certain discipline in place, I think, for the first time. Learning is something which, I've not had it for a couple of years now, let's be honest. Right? So I think it's to go back to learning is not easy, especially balancing your personal life, your extremely fast-paced professional life, and then you figure out some time, for learning as well. It kind of gets tough, especially at my positions these days. Um, is it worth it? Absolutely worth it. I'm just trying to bring in that discipline also to kind of to give justice to the entire investment. What I've also learned is there's a lot of brushing up to do, especially even around core frameworks. Just last week, I've learned that everything about Companies Act of 2013. I've completely forgotten of a lot of those basic nuances of board responsibility, risk, compliance, independent thinking. And I'll be honest, I think it's humbling. You realize how much more there is to learn when you shift gears from an operator's lens to a board level perspective. I think what excites me is the long-term value. I'm very confident. I think I'm going to get extremely great value out of this. I'm not approaching this as a checkbox, but as a way to deepen my kind of ability to contribute meaningfully, not just within a company, but as someone who can probably create trust, governance, and sustainable growth. So for the experience, while the experience has been rich, it's fairly too early for us. I mean, from the curriculum to the interactions. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to continue this journey um, with complete honesty, and in time, bringing that perspective to the boardrooms I step into. So yeah, I'm very very excited to kind of complete the entire program.
That's wonderful to hear, Mr. Rahul. Really shows the kind of practical depth the Institute brings to seasoned professionals like yourself.
Absolutely, yes. I think it's been an enthralling fun times, challenges as well. But yeah, looking forward what's going to come up next.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of this incredibly insightful episode on FaceTime with Leaders, brought to you by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. Mr. Rahul, thank you so much for not just sharing your journey, but for opening up with such clarity, honesty, and depth. From brand building to boardroom lessons to your thoughts on governance and leadership, it's been truly a masterclass. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and it was really great catching up with you, Sunny. And yeah, I think it's been a pleasure to be here again.
Thank you once again, Mr. Rahul, for joining in. And to our audience, we hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and offered real value. Whether you are a rising marketer, a future leader, or someone rethinking how impact is created in the business world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep building with purpose. Thank you so much and have a nice time.